Tarot Treasures, it's Ethony and it's Oracle Wednesday. This is for the time period of the 24th of July till the 30th. We are on the home stretch for this month and you are here to pick a pile of cards. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to, of course, change over cameras, let you see the spread for this week, and you will pick your pile of cards and then you're going to come back to watch the reveal. So let's go ahead and get this party started. Okay, it's now time for you to take a lovely, deep, centering breath and to ask yourself, your inner compass, your guides, your ancestors, whoever you call upon to ask for guidance, what pile of cards is going to give you the message that you need to receive for this week. So from Wednesday to next Wednesday. This is pile number 1, pile number 2, and pile number 3. I recommend you write down what pile you have gravitated towards so that you can remember, and let's go and have a look at your messages for the week. Okay, let's dive right into it. Group number 1 or pile number 1, I use those terms interchangeably. So let's get going. Your first card is the Knight of Wands. And remember, I'm going to show you all of the decks that I use at the end of this video. So don't worry your pretty little gorgeous, fabulous, amazing self about it. We will go through the decks because I know you guys always want to know what I'm working with. So your first card, pile number 1, back on track, is the Prince of Wands or the Knight of Wands. The Prince of Wands is just the change in title for this particular deck. You are being asked to charge ahead, to take action. And the important thing with this Knight or Prince is when I ever pulled this card, and this really did come from my tarot teacher in Australia the first time I really took on formal training as a tarot reader. This was always our Qantas card. So she said, oh, this is always my Qantas card. And Qantas is an airline in Australia. The very classic, very iconic kangaroo on those airplanes. So if you ever see them, that's Qantas. And so this means that travel is likely. So travel could just be an overnight somewhere in a beautiful hotel. If you need to get away and have a bit of a love-in with your loved ones, or, you know, even just a hook up. It can be going on a vacation. It can also mean just getting out of your daily routine. So for example, something that I find really helpful, if I feel like I'm stuck on a project, especially when I'm writing and that is a grind, go to a cafe. Take the pooch, put him on the leash, go to a cafe, grab myself a delicious coffee and an amazing croissant, and I find the change in environment is super helpful. You are being asked to do something that is going to lift your spirits by moving. It's not by putting on Netflix and deciding that you're just going to be comfortable in your Jimmy Jams. That's absolutely fine, but right now you're being asked to move. I know that this might be hard for some of you, but please believe me, it is going to help you more than you may know. Your next card is the Call. And this is that call that I was speaking of. And if you look at the back of this deck, it's like this spirit being is calling to you to really examine where you're traveling and what you're doing. So I'm just going to hold this up so you can see a little bit better. What is your call? And this is kind of looks a little bit like, you know, when Arthur goes and pulls the sword out of the stone. You're being asked to really think about what actions am I taking? What mantle am I putting on myself? What am I doing that is really paving the way for my experience? Am I taking action that is really sitting deep within my soul and making me happy? And am I doing it for absolutely everywhere else, for everyone else, everywhere else? This is the call to heal your spirit. When we looked at that, the Wands card, really looking at the spirit here, healing the spirit and healing your motivation and your creativity, and all that kind of thing through those actions of the Knight of Wands. And how are you going to do that, you ask? Because this can be like quite the big thing. For some of you, it is just going to be that very sort of small move, to go do something out of the ordinary, or you'd be like, yeah, I've got a vacation planned, and that totally makes sense. But for those of you who really feel like you're stuck, this is how you're going to do it. Your final card this week is the Six of Swords. The Six of Swords is about moving forward, but when we have the element of air in the swords, it's very much around the mind and around our habits and around the beliefs that we have in place on our lives. And many times in the Six of Swords, we see this person usually being ferried across water by a hooded being. But here we have in the Bonfire Tarot, one of my favorites, we have this person rowing themselves on a leaf. This leaf that is on the water, and then we have these balloon looking things and the freedom in the background. So what you're being asked to do is to take the wisdom of what you deeply know, what you have been, all those things that you've learned from other people in writing, reading your books, all those things that you have learned, and put it into action, and to take that wisdom with you from the hardships that you've encountered in your life, in the lessons that you have learned, but drop the burden. The burden is no good for you. There is time for you, and I'm sure you can now hear my dog. It's time for you to release that, because that is not actually going to get you anywhere. You need to release that burden and move forward so that you can actually start to free your energy up to hear the call. If you are if you're bogged down with all of this heavy belief and all these things that you have accepted as truth from the past, it may be very, very hard for you to hear your intuition and hear the calling of your spirit, and it might be hard for you to move forward. So if you can come back to the wisdom of this card, of the Six of Swords, and really lay it down. And what is amazing is that water that those swords are carrying, is being carried over. It's like water and air. It doesn't quite mingle, but what you're being asked to do is cleanse it and heal it, because water is a cleansing and healing element. So if you're able to do that, you are going to be able to move forward and hear the call a lot better. That's quite the thing for this week. So even small steps are going to help you quite a lot. So that, my lovelies, is for all of you who have chosen pile number 1. Now, pile number two, I'm just going to take a little bit of a sip of my coffee. And yes, I drink my coffee with a straw. Metal, of course, no plastic. Okay, our first one is the Ace of Pentacles. You have got a lot of potential this week. I love this. Okay, so this deck here is probably one of my favorite decks of all time. It is just, and it's got lots of printing errors, but I don't care. It is one of my favorites of all time, and this is one of my favorite aces. I think it's because of that color palette in the background. There is a lot of potential for you this week to get a really good foundation going for something. So yes, Mercury is in retrograde. I mean, I've been finding it very helpful for my projects, so not everyone is going to really struggle, because there's a lot more going on with the planets than just Mercury being in retrograde. So you have got the potential here. The seed is going to come along. The idea is going to come along, but it's a practical one. Whether that's an offer of a job, or you're going to find a new stream of revenue, or even if you find $20 on the floor, or if it's all those like new things. Even if you go out and plant a tree, or you're starting a herb garden, you're going to find that you're beginning to become awakened, and this bear coming out of this cave is like starting to stretch itself and kind of move forward. The second card here is the Forest Labyrinth. So this is about choices and considering options. You are now at this precipice of going, okay, so the potential is here. I'm being given the offer. What am I going to do about it? How am I going to move forward with this? I need to weigh the options up very carefully and make a decision that is going to help me with my long-term goals. Remember, the Ace of Pentacles is right at the beginning of the Pentacles journey. You want to make that come back to you with the maximum return on investment. This may not actually mean an investment of money. It might just be an investment of a relationship, or building a firm foundation so that you can build a life with somebody. It may be that you are starting a new job and you want to make sure that you are doing everything you can Because this is not just going to be another job for you. This is the career you've been longing for. So you're making careful considerations and choices so that you're going to be laying a fabulous foundational trust so that when those promotions come up, you know who's going to be first in line. A lot of the time, it's the long-term game that you are being asked to look at. You do not need to see all ends. Something that is very important about choices and moving forward. What can often happen with people when they are given the Ace of Pentacles, when they are shown the potential in something, they freeze up because they're worried about freaking it up. I know there might be small ears and I know I'm a swear bear, but I'm going to try and keep it PG. They're worried about stuffing it up. And the problem with having that worry is that it often stops you from making choices. And that is not cool. We want to make sure that we're moving forward all the time. You do not need to see all ends. You do not need to know absolutely everything that is going to happen. The thing that you have to do is, with the knowledge that you have right now, with that potential that you have right now, with that first step in front of you that is asking you to move, just move forward. Allow the road to unfold in front of you as you go. And your final card for this week is the King of Cups. Now, what I love about, I love the court cards, obviously, I know, but what I love about this card is it's saying that there are deeper things going on every time we make a choice. So this King of Cups here is like looking at the subconscious and of why we make the decisions that we do. And just before you move forward, before you act and kind of go forward, what can you do? Just even if you just take a moment and check in with your body, because your body always knows, and then just say, how do I feel about this decision? And allow that to sit with your body for 2 seconds and then move forward. I'm just checking my notes because I wrote a bunch of it. What is your motivation? Who or what is making your decisions? And I'm not talking about some like demigorgon, like pulling the puppet strings. Often it's like the fear place of ourselves to make the decisions to be a little bit more cautious, blah, blah, blah. Or it's like, someone that, a trusted friend who does actually mean well, but might just like sabotage you a little bit, sticking their foot in it and telling you not to do the thing. It could be a parent that is very dominant in your life. Long-term success or short-term gratification. There's nothing wrong with a bit of short-term gratification. I'm all for something lovely and delightful. I am a water pig in Chinese astrology, which means I love decadent things, like clearly, things like chocolate and like coffee, and a little bit of luxury is totally my Jimmy jams. So I'm not going to sit here and shame you, but making sure that you're doing a little bit of both, having that instant gratification of like having smaller goals and breaking them down, but then looking ahead and going like, am I moving forward in a way that is going to really, really help me make the most out of your potential this week? That is what you are being asked to do. It's not about, having it all happen right away, because it's not going to happen. It won't happen overnight, but it will happen. It's just about steady progress, and then making the choices in a mindful way. All right, group number 3. Hi, how are you? Thanks for hanging out. I'm sure that you just skipped it. Went straight to 3. Thanks to like the fact that thanks to technology. The 3 pile 3 this week starts off with a 3. Ooh. And we have the 3 of Wands, and I have an itchy nose. There we go. So you have got vision. You have got, wow, you are like, I want to go after this and grab this and go down the road, and I'm ready. And you really are ready. This is all about vision, looking at the bigger picture rather than the small. There is a kind of bit of an overlap here with the second pile, but this is more about you've done a lot more work than the Ace of Pentacles. That first pile was like more of that potential, that raw potential. Maybe it's the idea that maybe someone scribbled down in a notebook. This is like, no, honey, you have got a plan. And if you don't have a plan, time to get one. Yes, there is absolute amazingness when it comes to flying by the seat of your Wonder Woman underoos. And you know how much I love those Wonder Woman underoos. I'm going to make some one day. I want someone to make me a shirt that says I'm flying by the seat of my Wonder Woman underoos. I will wear the shit out of that. Getting back on track. There is real skill in that, being able to greet the world and do the thing without having to have the whole thing in front of you, being flexible. But this is really about putting your vision down on paper, and seeing it for what it is. Threes are about collaboration and about inviting another party into the process. And what this is like inviting a little bit of structure and having that plan come in so that you can actually see where your weaknesses are, where your strengths are, and actually start to make a bit more progress and headway. You've got grand plans. It's time for you to really start doing the work behind it, as it's going to be very successful. The Three of Wands is a great card for like entrepreneurs and people who travel quite a lot and who have big bloody plans in life. I'm one of those. Okay, your second card for the week is Word on Wing, and this is about communication. Now, the first part of this card is about news and communication of all forms. So you may receive an email and it might be in relation to those beautiful plans, that Three of Wands, or permission, or that ready, set, go, that let's get started. Maybe you're waiting to hear back about investment, or maybe you're waiting to hear back about a project that has been stalling. It's going to happen this week. But for those of you who you're not necessarily waiting for something, this is about being communication and being extremely clear. So when you are doing that planning, and you are looking forward, and you are getting ready to jump, and just wait and see your final card, you need to be very clear with the universe and very clear with yourself on what needs to get done. Crystal clear communication means that what's coming back to you is going to be exactly what you want. You know, it's like magic and spell work, and a lot of what we, manifestation is actually just a form of spell work, or, spells can be seen as like praying for something, except you're now taking an active more active role in it and doing everything that you can. Although I know a lot of people who pray and do everything that they can to meet it as well. That is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So this is about meeting that and being very, very clear, because you could do like a spell or ask the universe for something, but if you're not very specific and clear about in the way in which you want it, then it can kind of come in a bit of a haphazard way. My favorite story, very quickly, is as a witch I know who did a love spell and ended up getting a cat. Like, this stray cat adopted her. She got the love, but it wasn't human and it wasn't romantic. So, being a little bit specific about your plans and ensuring that you're looking at the detail is going to help you quite a lot. Your final card is the Fool. So be ready. Get ready for the jump. Get ready to have faith in yourself and faith in your plans. And what's amazing is if you look here, we've got this person in the Three of Wands, and they're looking at the path, and then the Fool on this card is already on the path. Those mountains and those hills are behind her, and she's walking forward, just like being her fabulous self. So no matter what people say, you know what you need to do. And I know that's going to ring very, very true for some people who've been worrying about a choice, but maybe they are concerned about a long-term ramification of that choice. But you know what you need to do. It's not about asking for permission from anybody else. It's about having faith in your choices and in what you need to do in order to move forward. So that is what you're being asked to do this week for group number 3. That's a quite a big, plan, communicate, execute. Woo! That's a lot. And if you can't get it all done, at least start. So what are the decks that I used for this week? The first one is the Druidcraft Tarot. I have had this deck since I was, I've had this deck for a very long time. And I've modified it. It comes with 2 borders, and I got rid of the first one. So the backs are a little bit, you can tell with all the scuffing how much I've worked with this deck. The backs are a little bit crazy, but there were a few that were badly printed, like the borders. So I didn't really care. I'm looking at this deck. I love this deck so much. Will Worthington is an incredible artist, and I have all of Will's decks. The book is great. I have 2 versions of this deck. This is the original one with the large book, and I bought a backup copy because I was using this quite a lot with the smaller book. I've actually edged it. I tried edging it in gold, but now it just looks dirty. When everyone was like modifying and edging their decks, I was doing that with the gold Sharpie, but I use it so much that all the gold kind of rubbed off. Don't care, not mad about it, just like that's what happened. I might just try like a matte color next time. I've seen some people use like the really bright colors, and I'm dying. I love that there's a lot of decks coming out now with the bright like backs and edging, like Chris and Donnelly's decks and things like that, which are on the way for me. But like you can see, I was edging it. I don't know if you can see, and I like got gold all over some of the letters. Here's the thing about being me, and I'm going to sort of blame it on being a Gemini. Oh man, doing things like that, I was just like, I got tired halfway through, and then I, kind of got rushed a little bit. The second is, this was the third, but it's the second I'm going to show you because just of the way that everything is piled on my desk, is the Bonefire Tarot by Gabby West. And everyone in the tarot community loves Gabby, hopefully. This is the Schiffer Publishing copy. I have the first edition, but I rarely read with it because it is so, it's now a collector's item. I love the size of it. It is a beautiful deck. It's sort of more tattoo art based, but it is just, I accidentally stopped recording. It's more tattoo based. It's very, very detailed. There is so much in these cards when you start to really look at like the Ten of Wands with the Ten of Clubs, which is associated with it in the playing cards. You have those acorns. It's, all on fire. I love this one. The Four of Coins, or the Four of Pentacles, those apples, and we have the key, the locked key, the ring, and then there's 2 keys down the bottom. There's just so much in this deck. Gabby is amazing. I can't wait for her next deck that I think she's finished it, the one that is based on Frida Kahlo's life. I will always love this, and I will always love you. I will always love this deck. It's one of the, I'm not going to say one of the first decks that I got, but it was a deck that I got a long time ago, the original Bonefire Tarot. So this deck has been with me for a long time, just exactly like with the Druidcraft Tarot. So I know that when decks have been with you for a long time and you've done a lot of readings with them and a lot of work with them, that you certainly form a bond, and I've formed a very good bond with the Bonefire Tarot. Now the third deck is a oracle deck. I'm just moving some things. It is the Chronicle of Destiny Fortune cards, and this is by Josephine Elshaw and Emily Elshaw, and artwork by Claudia McKinney. It's by Red Feather, so Schiffer Publishing. It comes in a beautiful box. I'm actually not sure whether this deck is still, oops, I just banged it into my own face. I'm not actually quite sure whether this deck is still available, but I'm trying to show you more decks in my collection. It comes with a guidebook, and then each of the cards is a chapter. So it's written like a chronicle, or like a book. So you have the prologue, and then you have all these chapters in it, and it's really cool. It reads like a story, and then we have keywords and key energies, and some spreads in the back. So I have never done there's a card definition for some of them, and some of them there's not. Like for Lady Spring, there's no card definition, but it is a very interesting deck. It's unlike anything else that I've ever seen, and I've never done an unboxing of it because I got it well before I had a YouTube channel, so I wasn't doing unboxings then. It is quite glossy. I'm going to show you a few cards. So yeah, this is a really gorgeous, as I showed you the back, it's gilded gold, balance. It is very fantasy based, as you can see here. It is a very, very rad idea, this deck, how it works. I'm sure you can find someone, if you Lion Witch and Wardrobe, hey? If you are drawn to this, I'm sure you can find someone who's done a walkthrough. If you can't, let me know and I will try to find some time. You have, like, my desk is overflowing still with people who have sent me stuff waiting for me to unbox them. I do let everyone know how busy I am, so it's quite cool. I have a feeling as well that this deck would really lend itself to like the Bohemian Gothic tarot from Baba Studios, that kind of feel, any vampire deck, because it is, I mean, not all of them are like dark and mysterious, but like quite a lot of them have this like very gothic, very fantasy based sort of feel to them. So I feel like it would definitely lend itself to that sort of work quite well. And I wanted to show that deck a little bit of love. So my precious ones, that is Oracle Wednesday for this week. I hope you are taking care of yourselves. I hope you're finding time to unwind. And if you're looking for a recommendation for something to watch, and I'm probably going to talk about this again in my July wrap up, but I just watched it last night and it's sort of stuck in my head. Generation Wealth, if you have Amazon Prime, it is a documentary and it is an eye-opener. Holy cow. It's just a really good watch. It's heavy. It talks about excess and wealth, but it's a very interesting watch. I recommend you go and check it out. Have a wonderful week and I will see you all next time. Do 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 do.